All right, I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA Show. So, what I'm going to call this podcast is Did COVID Kill Your Momentum? And I think I see a lot of this with a lot of people now that we're kind of beyond COVID, at least right now to a certain degree. I live in Florida, so we were kind of open for the most part, truthfully. I mean, of course, we were like a lot of other places having to wear masks and social distance and things in that nature, but we also had the luxury of, I think, being able to do a lot more than most others were able to do throughout the world, not just in the United States or North America in general. And what I kind of want to talk about in this podcast is even being open as we were, and now most of the United States at least being open, is I've seen a lot of people either build momentum during COVID, and for instance, it would be like the real estate business or the mortgaging business in Florida. So many people were moving here, and I have a lot of friends in the real estate industry, and they really, built a lot of momentum, made a lot more money than normally. But I've seen on the other side, for the most part, a lot of people lose momentum. Not only lose their job, it's not just about the loss of a job. I shouldn't, That's not really what I'm talking about. I think a lot of people did lose their jobs, but a lot of people got their jobs, certain types of jobs back. I also think there are some job openings, maybe that weren't there before. But I do see, I think, from a health standpoint a little bit, and also a mental as well, like things kind of just, it put the brakes on a lot of people. And I'm here to say not everybody was kicking ass. I'm not saying that everything was going full speed for a lot of people and they were all blazing and everything was going their way and everybody who was, an entrepreneur was making a lot of money, or somebody who had a business was kicking ass, or if you had a job, you were always moving up. I'm not saying that. I'm just kind of talking about the effects that I've seen, and I think I've kind of gone through a little bit of this, is kind of, the brakes or just slowing things down to a certain degree, and then us kind of finding it hard to break out of that. And I really see this amongst my other family members and friends that live not only in the United States, but Canada and other places as well, is it just slowed everything down. And it's been kind of hard, I think, for a lot of people to start building up that momentum or that energy. And back to physical, I think a lot of people did underestimate what was going to happen to them through COVID, and maybe not eating correctly, not exercising. I'm around a lot of people that actually went the other way, I'm not going to lie. When COVID hit, it gave a lot of people that I know a lot more time to work out and get in better shape and not have an excuse, or even someone like myself who traveled a lot. It wasn't easy to always get to the gym, especially when I'm flying all over the damn place. So there was no excuses. What happened with me, though, I'll say very quickly, is when COVID hit, I, for the first time in like 10, 11, 12 years, had time to get everything done that I wanted to get done the last few years. My momentum kicked in like 100 miles per hour, and I was, for like a year and whatever, I just was going crazy with a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish. And I got them done. That doesn't mean I succeeded. I talk about a lot of times. That doesn't mean I got the results that I always desired, but I definitely got a lot more videos on YouTube that I wanted to get out. Maybe I did a certain type of podcast I wanted to testing different things on maybe Instagram that I never did before. That would be recently. Keeping up with my podcast, writing a lot of different things again, all these things. But now I'm actually, slowing down myself. Now, I don't know if I'm exhausted from doing that, but now I kind of feel like, and I can see what other people were going through, because I don't think people had what I had. And that doesn't mean I have more than what they have. I was just doing things that I could do during the pandemic, or say if you had a career or you did other things and it limited you, especially if you're in other parts of the country besides, say, Florida or maybe Texas or some other areas where you couldn't even leave your house practically for a year. So how were you able to do a lot of things when I had the freedom to do a lot? But if you are somebody going through this, I get it. And I think a lot of people have to realize, it takes time sometimes to kind of get that momentum going. I do think we have an opportunity now to a certain degree to figure out, really where do we want to put our time and effort, where before I do think a lot of us were distracted and so busy and just kind of in a rat race in our life, where kind of COVID came and said, all right, everybody's home for a while. figure yourself out, not only career-wise, but where are you in life in general? What type of, health are you really in? What's your mental health? What's your finances? What's really going on? Like, do you really have a good relationship? It could be with your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, boyfriend, your kids, stepkids. Because I do think before COVID, we were really busy. We really were. And we were distracted a lot. When COVID kind of hit, it almost reminded me of the 80s to a certain degree, where I was like, holy shit, I remember me, being home every night for dinner, me having a certain schedule. And I know a lot of people out there have certain schedules, but I do think everybody was kind of on the same schedule again a little bit. Even my kids, stepkids, I spent a lot of time with them that I haven't been able to do for many, many years, which is a positive. But I did find myself, too, a lot of times being bored and not knowing, the days were a lot longer, where the days before were just flying by. And I think a lot of people, I can't say with me too much, but I think a lot of people are getting depressed because maybe they didn't get their job back. Maybe they're not in a health condition that, they're in worse shape than they were before. And maybe they're burnt out on one another, where before maybe a relationship worked better because you didn't see as much of each other, where COVID kind of hit, and now you're with each other more often than before. And instead of, and I can only imagine, I don't have young kids. I think a lot of young parents, it was daunting on them to a certain degree because, not only having your kids around, but your kids not being able to play with their other friends or go to school and all these things. I didn't go through that. So that had to be definitely a shift in the momentum, not only for their children, but for the parents, careers, and all these things. So, I think we just also got to sometimes look and not always be caught up with ourselves, but look at others and see what they're going through, and if we can help them kind of reach out, even if it's just a conversation or if it's just stopping by or asking someone if they need anything. Just something like that, a little boost or conversation or even a text, brighten someone's day, help them build that momentum to kind of get maybe back to normal. So that's my 2 cents. That's all I got for you. Questions or comments, you're welcome to hit me up. I am definitely not a specialist in this COVID type thing, but I just wanted to bring up, I think a lot of people do feel like they've lost a lot of momentum compared to where they were at before. But I will say this officially, a lot of times we always think it was better before than it is now a lot of times. Not always. Sometimes it's the other way. But maybe it wasn't as good as you thought it was too. Because I remember if I went back a year and a half ago, 2 years, people, a lot of them were bitching that they were overworked, they were exhausted, never had time for anything, complaining that they're always, having to pay all these bills. So then all of a sudden, a lot of things were taken away from them to a certain degree, or things changed, and now they're bitching that they weren't like they were before. So it's kind of like you're bitching either way. So something just to think about. Anyways, I'm at richcholenza.com. You got any questions or comments, like I said earlier, hit me up, and I wish everyone the best.